Did you know some research suggests that it takes 21 days to make a habit and an additional 90 days to make it a permanent lifestyle change? If this is true, then stability in anything often hinges on one key element: consistency over that time. Good evening, everybody. I am Dr. Jerry Johnson, the creator of Common Sense Co-Parenting. My mission is to empower parents to navigate the complexities of co-parenting with clarity, compassion, and collaboration, while ensuring a nurturing environment that centers on the well-being of the child or children above all else. We are going to continue episode 12 with the topic of consistency. If you know me and you've seen any of my videos, you know that I have a theme for each of the characteristics that are in my effective co-parenting framework called Common Sense Co-Parenting. And the theme for consistency is: if we stutter, they can't be stable. This means that if at any time we have a break in our consistency in what we do as adults, our children or our child can't be stable in that area. Yes, it's a lot to ask. I know 100% of the time we can't do things 100% of the time. Why? Because we are humans and we do make mistakes and things do happen. However, if you create a foundation of consistency, even that one or two times, or even if it's 10 times out of their lifetime that you stutter a little bit, they can still have that foundation to be stable. So far, we have covered 4 of the 5 characteristics of effective co-parenting. And as I said, in this episode, we're going to do the same topic, talk about the same topic from last week, consistency. However, today we're going to talk about actions for our strategies for creating consistency in our co-parenting. If you need to go back and look at the other characteristics of effective co-parenting, which were communication, confrontation, collaboration, and cadence, you'll find that consistency and some of these other characteristics kind of flow throughout. They are intertwined. These are things that kind of bounce off of each other and can help other things go well in your co-parenting relationship if you get these down packed. So let's kind of go back and review, because that's the teacher in me. Let's remember that our strategies are basically our plan or our framework that we use for our characteristics, right? So we are creating the framework or the plan. And then when we talk about actions, those are our links to help us to achieve the success of our strategies. And I'll go into how that kind of flows if you've never been to my channel, how that kind of flows today. But we also talked about in the last episode how consistency in co-parenting does matter, as is all of these characteristics, and why it matters. It means that the parents are going to agree on and enforce shared rules, routines, and expectations for their children or their child across both households. This matters because this helps the children or the child to feel secure and reduces confusion, anxiety, and conflict that may happen in both relationships, whether it is the co-parenting relationship of adult to adult, or it is the relationship of the adult to the child. So creating that safety is what we've explored a lot, okay? And this consistency piece, just like in any relationship, any friendship, any job that you have, if people are not consistent, you can't trust them. It's the same way with our children. It creates the trust and the safety that they need to move throughout their day and their life. So let's go ahead and hop into the strategies. I'm going to say the strategy first from the last episode, and then I'll say the actions that we can take. Okay, so let's start. Our first strategy that we talked about in the last episode is you decide your vibe. If you were in the last episode, you probably remember I talked about co-parenting styles. And there are three main co-parenting styles. We had cooperative, which is kind of self-explanatory, conflicted, and we had parallel, right? So in these situations, we talked about how cooperative is the best case scenario. Like you all align on different things, the co-parents align on different things, you get along with each other, you talk consistently. With conflicted, it's a constant battle. It's constant fighting, poor interactions, lack of cooperation on either end or both ends. And then with parallel, even though it may be a high conflict situation where you recognize I can't really work with this person because they just don't want to do right. Not that they don't want to listen to everything that you say, because that is not the case. This is a partnership here. Like you're not always going to get your way. But in the parallel situation, this is where you kind of minimize your direct interactions with the person. But you follow similar guidelines in each household. You may have separate parenting styles or schedules or routines in some instances, but this arrangement focuses just on the child's relationship with that one parent, not on the child's relationship with both parents like you might have in the cooperative situation. So for today, I just want to give you some directions as to what you can do as far as actions. You can take a piece of paper if you would like, and you can fold it like a taco. You're going to fold it like in half, long ways. I guess I should have had a piece of paper to show you how that could go. But you're going to fold it like a taco so that there are two sides or two halves to your paper. One side, you're going to say, what does it look like? And the other side, you're going to say, what I need to do moving forward. Okay. So you're going to start with creating a list for yourself. Create a list for yourself of the characteristics of your co-parenting relationship. What does it look like on one side? Okay. And decide which style of co-parenting you have right now, based on the characteristics of the three that I talked about. Once you have decided that, then you're going to decide what you need to do to move forward within that co-parenting style. Let me give you an example. So if on one side of your paper, let's just say, let me show real quick. This is your piece of paper. You have folded it taco style. It's long ways, like a taco. You open it up. You make a T, line down here, line across here. It's called a T-chart. We call it a T-chart in education. Okay. On one side, you're going to say, what does it look like? On the other side, what do I need to do moving forward? All right. So once you've decided based on the characteristics that you list on what our co-parenting situation looks like right now, there's no judgment. It can be cooperative, it can be conflicted, or it can be parallel. Remember, we move through these. We flow through these. Like, it doesn't matter where you're starting. Just know where you're starting. Just like with your finances, just know where you're starting. Okay. That is the first step. And then you're going to make a list of what you need to do moving forward. Now, let's just say, for an example, let's say we do our list and then we say, oh, I think we need the parallel co-parenting style right now because I can't really talk to them. Like, I can't talk to them face to face. I just need to minimize interactions right now because I'm getting triggered or they're getting triggered or what have you. Okay. So you have your characteristics, and then how are you going to move forward? What do you need to do? Make a list of what you need to do to minimize the direct interactions then, if that is first. How are you going to go about doing that? Are you going to get a co-parenting app? Are you going to primarily communicate just phone conversation, no in person? Are you going to text more? If that's it, then you're going to need to try to make sure that in your text you really are specific and it's understandable and, just really simple for them to get, because text can cause problems. Okay. What would you need to do? Do you need to be sure to email any documents or send emails instead for communication of important dates for weekly, monthly, or daily things if necessary? Do you need to calendar things and invite them to to accept the calendar so they know what's going on with your child or with you? You can always have a conversation with your co-parent about how you're going to be moving forward and try to get agreement on this structure, okay? Because you can say, I'm finding it very difficult to talk to you right now. You're finding it very difficult to talk to me right now. So this is what I think we need to do moving forward. And it's always good for one parent to at least have a plan to present for how it is they want to move forward in the relationship. Because number one, that shows that you care. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the other person. You care about your child and you care about how you're setting them up for success with creating this foundation of consistency, right? And number two, it also shows that you're very aware of where your relationship is with this person and you're okay with that. You're okay with where you are right now. It's not going to frustrate you, but I am going to try to bring some solutions rather than some problems to this act. And that may encourage your co-parent to do it as well. Okay. Two good things come out of it. They should. Okay. And it's not all about appeasing your co-parent. It is about calming your nervous system, calming your child's nervous system, because you're creating a foundation of consistency that's going to create some security for them. All right. Okay. So all three of these co-parenting styles can be seen across the co-parenting relationship. After you finish determining what co-parenting style you have on one side of your paper, write down some things that you can do within that co-parenting style to create some consistency for your child in their life. All right. If you have not been together with this parent since your child was a baby or a toddler or something like that, even if you've been together since they were babies or toddlers, it is possible to progress to the best case scenario, which is cooperative. I said in the last episode, my ex-husband and I, and some of you know my story, but my ex-husband and I separated when my daughter was 8 months old. Okay. So she never really knew us being married. She's seen pictures and all of that. But we haven't been together in a relationship since she was 8 months old. So, but our divorce, we started out very conflicted in our relationship. It moved to more of a parallel situation because we still got into a cadence with some consistency with visitation and all that type of stuff. The communication started, and then we became much more cooperative as she moved into high school and then college and now her adult child years. So it is very possible to move through these different types of co-parenting styles, but it's going to take some work on the adult's end because everything that we do affects and trickles down to our child. So whatever we don't do, we're going to see it in the kids. I'm just telling you right now, coming from doing it myself, as well as seeing it in schools, whatever we don't do, it comes out. especially as they get older. I tell everybody, and I'm gonna stick to this. We all jack up our kids in some way, shape, or form, because there were some things about us that were not healed, not whole, and we just didn't some cases we just didn't know any better. But when you begin to know better, you begin to do better, right? But as they get older, you're gonna see some things in your children that you like, oh yeah, I didn't do that right. Or, oh yeah, they got it honest. Like attitude, like sarcasm, all of that. I'm telling you, my daughter has it honest. And I say it every time I see it in her. And it's no excuse. I correct the behavior. I named the behavior. And now that she's an adult, she has a choice, like she has to decide how she wants to deal with that. But we got to own it. Whatever we don't do will show up in our children. All right. So that's number one. Number one is your action is to decide your vibe. One side of your paper, fold it like a taco. You're going to put where are we right now in our co-parenting style? Which one do we fall under? And then on the other side, what can I do to create consistency in whatever it is we're doing within this co-parenting style? Okay. All right, that's number one. Number two, I'm talking about these out of order from last time because these kind of flow a little bit better for me. I'm all about the flow, y'all. All about the flow. It's got to make sense to me. So establish a daily, weekly, and monthly routine schedule with predictability. So the schedule is going to be predictable for you, for your child, for your co-parent. On this day we do this, on this day we do that. On this week this always happens, on this month this always happens, or what have you, right? Let's talk about an action. Okay. So take that piece of paper, or you can get a new sheet of paper. You probably want to get a new sheet of paper because this is going to be folded differently. So if you have a piece of paper, I want you to put it like a hamburger. Hamburgers sit on their side. Tacos usually sit, tacos usually long ways on their side. Hamburgers usually sit like this. So hamburger, I want you to fold one side into the middle, fold another side into the middle, and then you are going to have 3 columns. Okay? Just that easy. You're going to make your lines 1 and 2, then your line across the top. That's a 3-column piece of paper. All right? 3 columns. Now, the reason why we have 3 columns is because you're going to have daily, you're going to have weekly, and your weekly may be more than your daily. Okay. And then you're going to have monthly. So going from left to right on your paper, I should be going backwards, left to right. But this is what you're going to do. All right. So you're going to write out in one column your daily routines for going to school, like things like, example, going to school in the morning, coming home from school in the afternoon, after dinner routine. What are we doing? What are we doing before we go to school in the morning? We get up, we make our bed, we brush our teeth, wash our face, we put our clothes on. Do you need to be that specific, or do they know what they're supposed to do? These are things that I used to post in the bathroom when my daughter was younger. This is the order that you do these things in. Or you do X, Y, and Z before you come downstairs or to the kitchen or to breakfast or what have you. Okay? So what are the daily routines that they need to do? Yes, you can post these around the house. Doesn't matter how young your child is, you can use pictures for the tiny humans of what it is they need to do. Pictures of them brushing their teeth, pictures of them washing their face, all of that. Going to the potty, wash your hands, get your clothes on. These are things that daily they need to know. What is the routine for coming home for school? Do we go straight to playing a game? I don't think so. It should be we come in the house, we grab a snack, we grab something to drink, we go to our rooms or to the kitchen or to the living room or wherever you do homework uninterrupted, and homework gets done. Now, if you want to say after homework, they can play a game or go outside or watch TV or what have you, then that's fine. But if they have to come help cook dinner or prepare something for dinner, what, put that on the list. That's on the list. Okay. What do we do after dinner? That on the list. On the list. That is the daily routine. And if we need to post them, once again, if stuff needs to be posted in the kitchen, things need to be posted on, the back door before they go outside, do that. Do that. And start them young so they know what it is. Some kids have chores before they have to go outside. That's fine. This is all a part of their daily routine. All right. You are going to write out what your weekly routines are in the middle. What are those going to be? What are those going to be? And I'm going to say some easy things. It could be my daughter and I used to eat out weekly on Fridays. It was the only time we ate out. Every other day of the week, we cooking or we eating something at home that was already prepared. But she knew on Friday nights, you know what? We're going to eat out. That doesn't mean that we have to go out. We can order in and we're going to watch movies or binge watch something or whatever. And then our Saturdays were filled with, if she had practice for sports or something like that, does everybody eat together on Sunday? That might be a weekly thing for your family. It used to be for mine growing up. Okay. If you have a work schedule that fluctuates, because I know some people may bring this up, you have a work schedule that fluctuates, that's perfectly fine. There are still things that weekly, in your mind need to be done. What expectations do you have for chores or the kitchen being cleaned or bedrooms, your room being cleaned by the time I get home? Is there a honey-do list? I used to leave a honey-do list for my ex-husband. But is there a honey-do list that you can leave for your kids? Let them know what weekly, what needs to be done before they can go outside and play or play games with friends. Even if it's practices that they have for sports or the arts or something like that. If they have to, I used to have to practice cello 2 hours a day after school, every day, Monday through Friday, in addition to homework. Okay. So I played an instrument. If they play an instrument, do they have to practice daily, or weekly? They have to go somewhere and practice with someone. Those are things that you need to write down in the middle. What's our weekly routines that are consistent? These are things that are consistent that we know are going to happen unless, something out of the ordinary happens. It's going to be on our schedule. Now, the weekly routines may run into your monthly routines. That's why it can be smaller, like the daily might be run into weekly too. But what is consistent about your month? What do you know every month? Just like you pay certain bills every month is going to happen. Like you gonna make it happen. I'm gonna tell you what. One thing for me was I knew every month I wanted to go to the spa if I could afford it. I just put it on the calendar because I was scheduling it regardless. And by the time I got to the appointment, if I had money or not, then I would go or not. But it got to a point where I could pay the monthly little service fee for a membership. And I every month I scheduled my facial or my massage or whatever service I could do. That was on my calendar to go every month. Okay. Whether it is you going to therapy or the kids go to therapy or the kid goes to therapy. Every month, what is the visitation schedule? Do you have a monthly girls or boys happy hour? What are you consistently scheduling for yourself or your kids every month? They should have a play date or something scheduled every month too, just for the social aspect outside of school. If they're not doing sports or something like that, they definitely should have that. Okay. That is a great practice to start so they know that friendships outside of school or work are necessary. Because the people at school and at work aren't always your friends. They're colleagues or their schoolmates. That's it. They might not be lifelong friends. So you need to get them into that routine of understanding that they have to take care of themselves as well, just like you do. It flows right into, and so that's your activity for number 2, which is you need to have daily, weekly, monthly routines with predictability for your child and yourselves. This flows right into promoting mental and emotional stability for you, your co-parent, and your child or children, for everyone involved in your co-parenting life. This could be that your parents, their grandparents are involved in keeping them after school and whatever. You need to promote mental and emotional stability for them too. They need to be straight. If you have good friends or family members that are always around and involved in keeping your child, promote the mental and emotional stability because they are modeling for your child what this is too. This is just as important as physical health, eating right, and all of that. And in both environments, in all environments that your child or children go in, they should feel loved, supported, and valued. Okay? This lends itself once again to creating those routines so that they can be stable and they can be safe. Now, no activity necessarily on this one, but there are some actions that you can take. And I'm going to roll through a few of them. Active listening. This creates and promotes mental and emotional stability for your children and for your co-parenting relationship. We talked about this in another episode. Active listening means you make eye contact with the person. That means you're not sitting there looking at your phone as you're listening to them talk. You are present with what it is they're saying, not just your presence, your body being there, but you are actively listening and you are engaged. That means put the phone down, look at the child, engage in dialogue with them. That means you are actively listening. Okay? That promotes your child being more open, honest, transparent, things like that. They know they can come and talk to you about whatever it is. Now, sometimes don't get me wrong, these conversations are difficult, but you're going to want to know what your child is saying, because they're going to bring it up again. Well, mom, well, dad, did you not remember when I said X, Y, and Z? That's because you were playing with your phone and da, da, da. If you do this for your child, they will begin to do this for you. You may have to remind them as you begin to do this more. You may have to remind them to model the same thing that you're doing, because it's just respectful. Okay. Just like we shouldn't be, anywhere listening to somebody speak or whatever, and we're just sitting there on our phones. That's just so disrespectful. Like, what? Huh? So active listening is one thing, and it encourages open communication. All right. Another action you can take is making sure that they're in their routine, there is regular sleep habits. It's just like having healthy eating habits. That's a good one too, because all of this affects your mental and emotional stability. If we do not get sleep, rest is recovery. That's all I'm going to say right there. Rest is recovery. If we do not get sleep, our body is not able to regenerate certain cells and all of that. If we do not get sleep, it doesn't take long for us to have a couple of days where we don't get enough sleep or rest. And we're walking around here, literally, research has shown, we are driving and walking around here like we're drunk. And that's because our body has not had a chance to recover from the energy that we expended the previous day, and or the things that we put in our body that suck our energy every day. There's so many toxins and everything in our environment and in our food. Our body needs a chance to get some of that stuff out, to work it out, to expel it, all of that. So to have a healthy eating habits and regular sleep habits is very important for our mental and emotional stability. Whatever we put in our body, food is fuel. Whatever we fuel our body with, it affects every part of our body and how it functions. Especially, a lot of things affect our brain, and people don't understand that. And that's why some people don't want the red dye and everything and all that type of stuff, because it has been shown to cause disease in our bodies. So the eating healthy and the regular sleep habits, those are some actions that you can take to help your child with mental and emotional stability. Let me make one caveat. Let me say one thing about the healthy eating habits. Being able to buy organic food, I am very aware, is a privilege. A lot of us don't have that privilege. It is expensive. Everything's expensive today. Okay. But if you have options of going to an Aldi, which is trying to go, more organic at a more affordable price, if you can go to a farmer's market and get, fruits and vegetables and even meat. Many times you will find, sometimes Trader Joe's too, but many times you will find, if you shop around, you will find that some places are more affordable than others. And eating healthy does take some work. And when you have little ones, they want to eat all the things. But this is a time where we as the parents have to buckle down and have some boundaries for what they are putting in their bodies so young, and what they're doing with their bodies as far as sleep habits so young. All these devices, and they got iPads in the room and cell phones in the room and all of that. At a younger age, even at a teenage year's age, they should not always be on all those things all the time. It's messing with their brains, the mental and emotional stability. Always on social media, start putting some parental guidelines and guards on their social media, their phones, their iPads. You can do that. There are apps for that, so that they are not always scrolling and comparing themselves to other people and all this, hearing all this toxic stuff, from people on social media. This is what is messing with their mental and emotional stability too. And as parents, we got to lock it down, and we have to be able to set some boundaries and put some safeguards in place for what it is that they are doing when they are under our roof. This is one time, hey, you could say, is you under my roof, you got to go by my rules. You don't pay for that phone. You ain't pay for an iPad. You didn't even pay for no shoes. That means you got to go by my rules. Okay? We are the parents. We are the adults. They don't get to run things in your house. They don't get to do that. And we need to set that boundary at a young age, or else when they become teenagers, it's going to be off the chain. I'm telling you right now, once again, I've seen it in my personal life, as well as I have seen it in schools. Those boundaries transfer to what it is they do in schools, because they're with people that they don't know, that they feel like can't tell them anything. Why? Because can't nobody tell them nothing at home. And they do what they want to do at home, so they think they can come to school and do it. That sets them up for a whole different type of school life and work life. Because in your job, even if you don't work for someone, as an entrepreneur, you're still going to have people giving you feedback and talking to you about your business and all that type of stuff. You have to know that you cannot just act any way you want to act, say what you want to say, do what you want to do all the time. No, you can only do that in your home. And sometimes you can't even do that depending on where you live in. But that's another story. So, active listening is one of our actions. Creating regular sleep habits and healthy eating habits those are two more. Now, physical activity. Y'all, please get these kids into some physical activity. It has been shown, whole lot of research out there about the fact that even when schools take away the physical education classes where kids are able to play sports, run around, do things, and the recess times have minimized as well. Them being outside, socializing, playing games, all of that. Get your child some physical activity. Real talk, let's just be real. It's going to help them with their brain development and activity. It's going to help them to be able to start to control and have coping mechanisms for emotional outbursts that may have or they may want to happen because they lose a game or whatever. Okay, they have coaches that help them with that. And then also the physical activity is going to help we have so many children that are becoming obese because they're just sitting, as well as adults, because they're just sitting. That is not good for our mental and our emotional health at all. When we feel good about our bodies and the way we look and the way we move and the way, we're able to get up out of the chair or do a split or lift some weights, that helps us with our mental and emotional stability. Kids need, every human being needs physical activity. We need it. So I know that it takes time. taking kids to practice and this, and that. But even if you can put it on the weekly schedule, that 2 to 3 days a week, you're going to the playground. Maybe the 2 days is just on the weekend, or when they're with their other co-parent if they're on the weekend. You're going to the playground, or they're going to hit some balls for softball, or they're going to play a little volleyball, or something like that. Take them somewhere where they can just run around. Even a little bounce house things. All right. So that's number 4 for actions. And I'm going to give you one last one. Recognizing and labeling emotions is very difficult for a lot of children. And that's because we as the adults have to teach them how to do this. And there's more emotions than happy, sad, and mad. Way more range of emotions. Teach the children the vocabulary. Teach the children for how that might look on their face. How do you feel in your body? Let's take an example. Let's do an example. Disappointed. Okay. I use the word disappointed sometimes, even when I'm sad that a person did what they did, or a student might have done what they did. I say, I'm disappointed. That's a different emotion than sad about it. Because disappointment, in my eyes, for me, and I will explain this to them, disappointment means that I believed that you would make a better choice than what you made. I'm not sad about it. It's not going to make me cry. I'm not mad about it. I'm not going to yell or anything like that. But I'm disappointed because I got let down, And when I'm disappointed, I kind of cock my head to the side. I'm just like, I might shake my head, and in my body, I just feel like my shoulders aren't tensed up, my shoulders aren't down like I'm sad, my head's not down. Like I explain, and comes from teaching, which may be very difficult for some parents, but I explain how it makes my body feel when I'm disappointed. Like my stomach gets a little, not feeling so good, like turned around a little bit, because I just thought that it was going to be a better choice. And I thought that I was going to be, happy and joyful about that, but just disappointed. That's all. So labeling emotions is good for children because then they begin to recognize that there is a whole gamut of emotions that we can feel. Even in the course of 2 to 5 minutes. You can ask them how you feel, and then in the next 5 minutes, ask them how you feeling right now. And then they can recognize. Do not use the words happy, sad, and mad. Let's think about some other words for how we might feel. Okay? Happy, sad, and mad are good to start with for our maybe 2, 3-year-olds. But even at 3, 4, and 5 years old, you guys, as teachers, we had children naming their emotions. There's emotion cards that you can buy. There's things that you can print out on the internet for different emotions. And then you can talk about how does it make you feel? Like, what does your face look like? Show them a picture of what the face looks like. What does this mean when you feel this way? What happened that you felt that way? So, labeling emotions and recognizing them in the moment is a very, very important skill. It helps with emotional intelligence, if you've ever heard of that. And we have some adults that are, as we can see in this world right now, that's another story, that are very low on emotional intelligence. And happy, sad, and mad are all that you will see in their countenance, like in their body, in their face. You won't see any other range of emotions most of the time. That's all that they can identify with. And it's sad. Like, so let's help our children to be mentally and emotionally stable by beginning to recognize and label those emotions and know when they come up and what we can do to possibly change or get to a better state of emotions. Okay. So that was number 5 for you guys. Encouraging positive thinking too is always one that people would say you need to work on with developing mental and emotional stability. But this is the thing about positive thinking. And I'm just going to give you a quick second. It's good to think positive. Fantastic. Nothing wrong with that. For me, a little bit of positive thinking with also a little dab of real, like let's be realistic, is necessary, because we can think positive and we can say, this is what's going to happen. This is who I'm going to be with. This is, you know what I'm saying? It's good to encourage the encouraging of positive thinking. However, if your child comes out and says, well, mom, well, dad, this is what happened last time. So, I'm not going to get my hopes up this time. You know what? Bet that. Like, that's okay that you feel that way and you think that that's going to happen again. Acknowledge that. They named it. Okay. Acknowledge that that's really what happened last time. And there is still a possibility that it can be different this time. So even though that's what happened last time, we do it in our relationships all the time. How many times? How many times do y'all give somebody to come back into your life and just jack it up? I'll wait. We do it in relationships all the time. How many times do we forgive coworkers for doing something jacked up or saying something jacked up and just go on with our day? So my thing is, we can be positive, but also if the little bit of real comes up, that is okay. This is a different situation, a different time. We still can believe that the situation is going to be different. Don't get mad at children when they do exactly what we do. They go off of what happened last time. Okay. And then when we try to encourage them, they push back and we get mad. But they're doing the same thing that we do. Even though we decide to move on with somebody or allow them to come back into our lives or what have you, they're doing the same thing in their mind. They're thinking that it's not going to be different. But many times in a lot of situations, we think bad situations, we think somebody's going to be different. A person is going to be different rather than the situation. And that is not the case. So we can encourage positive thinking, but let's also encourage positive thinking with a little bit of realistic thinking in there as well. I know, y'all. It's just different. Okay. So let me recap really quickly what we went over today because we're getting to the end of the episode. So we talked about the three strategies from the last episode. Number one was you decide your vibe. We talked about the activity that you can do with the taco T chart. On one side, you're going to say, where are we? Decide your co-parenting style. And then what do you need to do to move forward within that co-parenting style to create consistency for your child? The second one was that, excuse me, we are going to create and establish daily, weekly, and monthly routines with predictability. These are things that we know are going to happen. So we created our hamburger style 3-column piece of paper, 2 T's, double T chart. Okay. And then we put daily, we put weekly, we put monthly. And we talked about what routines are absolutely going to happen daily. If you need to start with before school, after school, and dinner routine, then do that. You probably would add more. And then weekly, what's going to happen as far as Fridays and Saturdays? On Sundays, do we eat together? Like, what's consistent about the week? Do we have chores that need to be done by Sunday? What have you? Okay. And number 3, we talked about promoting mental and emotional stability for you and your co-parents, and all the things that I mentioned. Active listening, we talked about that. Regular sleep habits, eating healthy. We talked about physical activity, and we talked about recognizing and labeling emotions. I then discussed a little bit about the positive thinking, but also be realistic about the positive thinking. We don't want the toxic positivity, like everything's going to be okay, even though everything's on fire around you. Nah, that's not what we're doing. We're going to be a little bit more realistic than that. So, if anything hit you today or you took away anything from this, please like and subscribe to the channel so that you are able to get these episodes as they come out. The next episode, I will have a surprise guest. We will have completed all of our 5 characteristics for common sense co-parenting. So as I bring guests onto the show, we're going to talk about those 5 characteristics in their co-parenting situations. So it's going to be really interesting. I would love for you guys to tune in to see what that's all about. Remember, I am on every last Friday of the month and first Friday of the month at 7 p.m. CST. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. My social media and my link tree for the co-parenting merch is in the comments. So be sure to hit that up too. As always, I'm going to tell you to go out there and co-parent with a purpose. I'll see you guys later. Bye.